We're in this new series. It's 3 weeks old. I never know when to stop calling it a new series. Probably by the time it's over, it won't be new anymore. But nonetheless, we're in this new series. We're 3 weeks in, and it's been fantastic so far. I'm really grateful for where it's been and where it's come from and where it's going. And here's the thing that I said with this relationship series, because this is something you got to remember. And I'm going to say like 5 times throughout even the course of this message today, and that is basically that it is from this day forward, right? I can't change your past. You can't change your past. Nobody can change your past. It is from this day forward, and we'll talk about what that means, and we'll talk about why I got this handy dandy suitcase up here with me as well. But one of the things that's true is that I love the fact that we get to talk about real stuff here. And the reason that I like it is because it's not even necessarily because I like talking about it, but I do. The thing that I like about it is that when you talk about real stuff, it deals with real issues and it helps real people. I just don't like it. I don't like it when people pretend to be better than they are. I don't like it when people pretend to have it together more than they do. I don't like it when people are pretentious and they walk into church and think that because they go to church, everything's good. I also don't like it when people think that just because you are a church person, that means you're a Jesus person. Because sometimes church people aren't Jesus people. You can tell by looking at their face, by the way, because you know what I'm talking about by looking at their face. I don't mean like they're filthy looking or anything like that. I'm talking about, you know, the people, if you're happy and you know it, tell your face. There's, you know what I'm talking about? Not at me if you do. If you don't, then you're the one. So I'll just talk to you right now. But I'm just telling you, I'm grateful that the Bible deals with real stuff. And I'm grateful that I have joy and hope and peace. I'm grateful that I have all that. And I want you to have it. I want our city to have it. I think that we can. I think that we will. I think that's God's plan for our life. I like talking about the real issues and stuff. And when we get to talk about love, sex, and romance, that's not a new thing. That's a Bible thing. I got to tell you this is going to mess you up. And it is, and I'm fine with that because sometimes it's good to mess people up and then put them back together. It's like Mr. Potato Head, he falls down and all the parts fall off. And they're like, oh, I got to fix Mr. Potato Head. Y'all remember that guy, Mr. Potato Head? Toys have come a long way since Mr. Potato Head, let me just tell you. But nonetheless, Paul was talking about some of this stuff. He has started this church this one time, and he goes there, is in this city called Corinth. He starts it, gets it going, it gets moving in the right direction. A bunch of people put their trust in Jesus. And then he leaves and goes and starts another church and does this thing. Well, in the Bible, a lot of times the stuff that you read in the Bible were letters that people had written to some of those churches that they had helped start. So in this case, in 1 Corinthians, which all that means is it was the first letter that he had wrote to this church in Corinth. And he writes this letter to them. And he was writing it. This is the part that you gotta wrap your brain around because it's gonna mess you up in a minute. He was writing to people that had become followers of Jesus under his teaching. So he's not just writing to church people. He's writing to Jesus people. And like I said a minute ago, there's a difference between church people and Jesus people. There's a difference between religious people and Jesus people. Some people stop going to churches because the religious people that they think are Jesus people are so mean that they don't want any part of the Jesus that they think that this person knows. But the reality is, if you're a jerk of a person, it's probably because you're a religious person and not a Jesus person. And maybe nobody else has had the courage to tell you that, but somebody needs to, and I'm the one with the mic. So I will. So sometimes people, you just don't let what's wrong with people keep you from what's right with God. How about that? Don't let what's wrong with people keep you from what's right with God. Too many people are doing that. And you just don't need to do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl, because it's a dumb place to be. But Paul was writing to this group of people, Jesus people. And here's what he says to them. Y'all aren't ready. He says, hey, I know y'all love Jesus, and I know Jesus has changed your life, but I need to put some things on your radar that y'all need to quit doing. Because remember, I told you this 2 weeks ago, those of you that were here, I said anytime there's the word don't in the Bible, you can put the 2 words after it, don't hurt yourself, right? Don't hurt yourself. Anytime Jesus says don't, it's not because he wants to limit your fun. That's the devil's way of looking at Jesus. And he's just done a really good job of making us think that's how Jesus thinks. And it's not. Jesus just doesn't want you to hurt yourself, right? Look to somebody and say, don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. That's what Jesus, he just don't want you to hurt yourself. That's the main thing. So Paul, he writes to this church, to this group of people that were not just church people, they were Jesus people. And this is what he says. He says, stop hooking up with prostitutes all the time. Okay? So this is Jesus people, not just church people. Paul wrote, if you don't believe me, you're like, he's being lewd. And no, I'm not. I'm reading the Bible. It's in the Bible. That's why people that say the Bible is boring have never read it, right? Because when you read it, you're like, oh, there's some hilarious stuff in there. He says this to these people: stop getting together with your stepmoms. He says, don't do that. And I mean, I would say the same thing to y'all. It's not a good plan. Don't hurt yourself, right? Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. Now, don't hurt yourself means something altogether different, doesn't it? But that's what Paul's saying. He's saying, stop doing this. You need to stop doing that. You need to stop getting together with all your neighbors. It's in the Bible. Remember, I told you one time, those of you that have been here for a while, about that whole, I don't know if it's an urban legend or if it's true, the whole upside-down pineapple in the grocery cart at the Publix store. Y'all remember me talking to you about this? I don't know if that's true or not, but I do kind of want to test it, but I don't want to be the one that tests it. But the one that does test it, I want them to have a video so that I can see it, to see what happens. But anyway, Paul says to them, in the Bible, 1 Corinthians, read it. He says, don't do that. Stop it. You need to stop it. You're going to hurt yourself. If you keep hooking up with people that are not your spouse, keep hooking up with people and your spouse at the same time. Quit getting together with family members. Stop. You gotta be careful. You're gonna hurt yourself. Jesus people, not just church people. And the reason I love it is because he shows us that just because you're a Jesus person, it doesn't mean that you automatically have your act together. That sometimes you can be a hot mess even though you love Jesus. And I don't know if this was a good amen part or not, because you shouldn't keep doing that. Like, you shouldn't hear Paul and be like, well, I'm a Jesus person and a messed up person and I'm going to keep. No. These people, when they found out that Paul was writing this is what they said. Oh. It was a different world. They were, in their minds, they were like, oh, okay, I get it. Paul, that's why my marriage keeps getting so messed up. I mean, I gotta quit with the upside down pineapple thing. I gotta quit. This is real life, y'all. 1 Corinthians is in there. Read the dang book. It's in there. And they didn't get it the first time, so he had to write a book called 2 Corinthians, which means he had to write him a second letter. I'm not joking. I'm not even doing this for effect, but everybody's affecting. And so as a result, I'll just keep running with it. But he's saying, I don't want you to hurt yourself. There's more to the story. There's more to the plan. I need to help you understand there's some warnings that you need to follow because of this. 1 Corinthians, Paul writes this, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. Here's what he says. There's more to sex than mere skin on skin. Sex is as much spiritual mystery as physical fact. As written in Scripture, the two become one. Now, what I want to do today is this, because remember, this is not me trying to slam anybody's past, my own past, your past, our past collectively. That's not this. This is about making some decisions in the present so that we can create a brand new future, so that when we get to the future, we like what we see when we get there. Right? That's very important. Now, in order to get there to the future that you actually want, we got to have some hilarious conversation about some stuff that maybe you've never heard a pastor talk about. And what I want to do is I want to talk to you about there's more. I mean, there's probably 37, maybe 337. We're going to talk about 3 lies that you've probably been told, that you have probably told, and or that you have believed about sex. 3 lies, all right? 3 lies about it. If you are a note taker, write it down. If you're not a note taker, write it down. If you don't want to write it down, type it in with your thumb. Do whatever, carve it onto your arm. Do something, because you're not going to be changed by the truth you hear. You will only be changed by the truth you apply, right? And you can't apply what you don't remember. People are so funny, man. They'll be like, Pastor, I wish you would talk about blank. And I'm like, bro, I just did a series about that for 5 weeks. And you were there. I saw you. You clapped your hands and you smiled and you said amen. But you didn't write nothing down. Filthy, rotten scoundrel. You just want to say that. There's just things that pastors want to say to people sometimes. It's amazing. 3 lies about sex. Back on track. 3 lies about sex that we might have been told. Here's the first one. Sex is just a physical activity. Sex is just a physical activity. Here's the lie. It's just something that you do with your body. It's no big deal. It's biological. It's fine. It's meaningless. There's not really any impact. It's no big deal. I mean, it's just two people. It's what you do. It's what you do. When you're dating, it's just what you do. It's just, I mean, that's why I swipe right is because it's just what I do. You just do. It is what it is. It's just meaning. It's just a part of the thing. I have needs. I gotta meet those needs. It's just a physical activity. Isn't it funny though that we will say that? But can we be honest? None of us believe that. Nobody in this room believes it. And the reason I know that nobody in the room believes it is because if I told you, and it's true, that 11.9% of all females in this country will experience rape. When I tell you that 20% of all females that go to college, if they live on campus for 4 years, 20% of them will experience some kind of sexual assault. When you hear it, hopefully, and I know you, both campuses, what will happen in your heart is you'll think, well, that's not right. That's wrong. That should make you angry. That should make you want to fight. That should make you want to punch somebody in the throat. That should make you almost like get protective for just a moment, right? Doesn't that make you feel that way? The reason that you feel that way, even if you don't believe in God, there's something inside of you that says sex is more than just physical. There's more to it. And even if you can't explain it, you have to figure out a way to explain the reason that you feel the way that you do when you hear about the horrors that come from sexual abuse. The reason that you feel that way, even if you don't know it, is because we're all made in the image of God. And because you're made in the image of God, somewhere deep inside of you, for reasons that you don't even understand fully, what God hates, you will hate at some level. And what breaks the heart of God will break your heart. Sexual abuse, assault, all that breaks the heart of God. It breaks your heart. When you watch stuff on the news, like we had to endure this week of what happened down in Broward County, Florida, that breaks your heart, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, because you are made in the image of God and you know for some reason inside of you, that wasn't right, right? And so as a result, what happens is when we hear those statistics, we know, okay, for some reason, I seem to know better. And the reason you know better is because sex is far more than just physical. It involves you at the deepest level. It involves you at the level of your heart. Now, let me show you the important thing about your heart. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says this, guard your heart above all else. That's a big statement. Guard your heart above everything else it is on your body that you guard. You got to guard your heart. And the answer to why is following. Guard your heart above all else because it is the source of your life. In other words, what goes into your heart will come out in your actions. What you allow into your heart will eventually work its way out for better or for worse. And so what we're being taught from Paul and then from the writer of Proverbs, from Jesus, from this message today and this whole series is you've got to be careful. You've got to guard your heart because if we're not careful with the gift of sexuality, we're going to make so many mistakes and we're going to have to carry around, we're going to have to lug what it is that we have loaded for all these years. And before long, the pack that you carry can get pretty dang heavy. That's why sometimes you can't worry about a carry-on. You got to worry about fitting it underneath the weight limit, underneath that plane. You might have to pay a little extra, or you might even have to get a luggage cart. You know what I'm talking about? Some of us, our past is as it is, and as a result, we've been loading and lugging around a luggage cart our entire lives. And the reason that we have is because we've believed so many of these daggum lies. Sex triggers something on the inside. It's hard to explain. That's why it says in that previous verse that I read to you, it's like a spiritual mystery. Like we can't even explain why it is as powerful as it is. It's hard to wrap your brain around that. It's hard to figure it out. That's why we in our minds, we believe the lie so easily that it's just a physical thing, is because of the fact that it is a spiritual mystery. But what happens is it will affect your heart, and that affects the core of who it is that you actually are. It affects you at your core. It's like if I had a sticky note up here, and I don't. I should have just grabbed one. But if I had a sticky note and I were to stick it on something, it's going to stick. But if I stuck it on something, ripped it off, put it on something, pulled it off, put it on something, pulled it off, put it on something, pulled it off, eventually the sticky note is going to lose its stickiness. Right? I mean, eventually there's going to be dust. If it's on my arm, there's going to be like these little tiny little hairs. There's going to be whatever it is that's on my skin. I mean, it's going to be all over the sticky note thing. And then all of a sudden it's going to get a little bit less sticky and a little bit less sticky and a little bit less sticky. And then before long, it's not even going to stick at all. And what happens is, as a result of ourselves thinking that sex is just a physical activity, we treat it like a sticky note, and we think that when we apply it, or when we think that we put it down onto something or to someone, we teach ourselves subconsciously or consciously that you can just rip off what you have once applied, and it makes it difficult moving forward to remain attached to anything. Because when it comes to the gift of sexuality, here's the crazy part. This is crazy. And remember, I told you from this day forward, right? When you rip stuff off continuously, it makes you think that it is easier to apply and then pull apart rather than stay together. Because when it comes to the gift of sexuality, it was designed by God to be between two people for the rest of their life. There was not supposed to be a ripping apart. So it was supposed to keep its intimacy factor between a husband and a wife forever, so that you could enjoy the gift that God has given you without having to load up this bag and lug it around for the rest of your life, right? Now, I could talk about this for the rest of our time together, but I don't have time. For sake of time, I need to go to the second one. Here's the second lie that we believe. I can do what I want and have what God wants. I can do what I want and have what God wants. I believe that Satan wants us to think that we can live however it is we want to live and still experience all the blessings that God has for us. And the truth of the matter is, you can't. Now, let me tell you what I'm not saying, because this is how easy it is to slip into religion. I'm not saying that this is Christian karma, and because you are pleasing to God, God will bestow blessings upon you, and as long as you're good, God will give you his benefit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when we choose to hurt ourselves, we have to deal with the consequences on a daily basis. We will hurt ourselves continuously, and that's not God's heart for you. That's not God's heart for you financially, relationally. That's not God's heart for you when it comes to your friendships. It's not God's heart for you in any capacity. He wants you to have an abundant life, not just in heaven one day, but on earth here and now. But we have to understand that we are not in a position to believe the lie that I can do what I want and have what God wants and think that we're going to be able to experience everything it is that God has for us. We're going to have to lug around everything it is that we load. Check this out, Galatians chapter 6, verse 5. This is Paul writing to another church in another city called Galatia. He says, every man or woman must carry his own pack. Every man or every woman must carry his own pack. Here's what that means. After you pack it, you got to carry it. Right? Like I tell myself this, like I literally had this conversation with myself whenever my kids go somewhere. They've been to Haiti and different places without me, and I want them to understand, I need you to know, whatever you load, you have to lug. You have to carry it through the airport. Your father is not going to be there to help you. Your mommy is not going to be there to help you. You have to lug whatever it is that you load. Does that make sense? Nod your head at me if it does. Kennesaw, you too. That's just the way that life works. So whatever it is that you load, you have to lug. It's not just true in airports, it's also true in life. That's why, remember that one time on spring break? and you were in high school and you convinced your mom and dad that Panama City Beach is where all the followers of Jesus go on spring break. And there's a big Jesus movement, and it happens at a club called Club La Vila, and it's amazing. And then, Mom, when that one's over, I go to Spinnaker's. And then right after that, you get the picture. And then when you got there, it was like the heavens had opened. And when the heavens opened up, it was buy one, get one free daiquiris. And it was all fun and games until you woke up the next day in a strange hotel room and you couldn't find your pants. It's never a good day when you can't find your pants. And because, look, you loaded it, you have to lug it for the rest of your life. It's like on graduation night. It's the last time you're going to see some of these people. You're all sentimental. One thing leads to another. It goes in the bag with everything else. I don't even need to fill in the gaps. You can fill in your own gaps. You can decide how it is that this story ends, but whatever it is you load, you got to lug. Remember that one time? You had a business trip. The business trip wasn't to Henry's. The business trip was to New Orleans, and it just happened to be Mardi Gras. Last Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Or maybe it was in Vegas, and you heard the saying, what happens in Vegas? No, it don't. That's another lie. It don't stay in Vegas. It don't stay in New Orleans. It don't stay anywhere. It does not stay. It doesn't stay. And so you were on a business trip and you were hanging out with some new business colleagues, and you went down to the bar at the hotel, and everything was cool, and you just had a drink, and then somebody bought you another one, and then before you know it, you're getting in a fight with your spouse on the phone, and you come back down and they're still there, and you're mad as can be, and then that person starts saying, well, what's wrong? I just love listening to you. And then you start talking, and they're a good listener, and then they say to you, well, I would never treat you like that if I was married to somebody as amazing as you, because my husband, he never listens to me either. I wish he was more like you. And you start loving it because you like it when people stroke your ego, and then before you know it, it's party time. And you wake up the next day, and even if you regret it, still goes in the case. And whatever you load, you gotta. Remember that person at the gym? And it was just a workout partner. Hey, can I spot you for just a second? Girls, if you are a girl. Girls, if you are a girl and a guy comes and wants to spot you, he does not just want to spot you. I gotta hurry up and finish this illustration. This is heavy. One thing leads to another. But here's the thing, nobody ever finds out. But you know, whatever you load, you gotta lug. Remember that one time you got those credit card offers? And you loved them because you thought they were congratulatory mail. And you're like, look at that, people giving me free money. This is amazing. And so you went on a shopping spree to buy things you didn't need to impress people you didn't even like. And now, with money you did not really have. And I'm talking to you people at Panama City watching this online, and you put that vacation on your credit card for the third time this year. They smile at you whenever you get the offer, but whenever you get the bill, it's a big old frowny face. Whatever you load, you got to lug. For some of you, this one's hilarious. For some of you, it's you ever been to the bookstore and seen the romance novel section? This book is called Nailed. I ain't gonna lie, if I looked like this with my shirt off, I would never wear a shirt. I would come up with illustrations why I needed to not wear a shirt every day. You would never let your husband sit around and look at porn all day on his computer, but yet you'll read this 24 hours a day. And then you start getting mad at your husband. I don't know why. I don't know why my husband doesn't come home bare-chested riding a stallion up the stairs to meet me in my bedroom. It says it's written by some woman called Opal Carew. I guarantee you that's her pen name. It's really Gladys Jenkins. She's 92 years old. Getting you all hot and bothered reading this book. Whatever you load, you gotta lug. And isn't it crazy that we think somehow we can beat the system? People say, well, it's just, it's all good. I'm just getting it out of my system. That's not what Paul tells us. He says it's actually not that you're getting it out of your system. It's actually that you're getting it into your system. Matter of fact, he takes it another one step further, and he says, Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that will he also reap. Here's what that means. Here's what it is. Ready? In like JR terms, you can't beat the system. I love trying to beat the system. When I go to the grocery store and I see multiple checkout lines, which means I'm obviously not at Walmart. When I go and I see multiple checkout lines. Have you ever been to Walmart and there's 700 people and there's 2 lines that are open? And you want to punch everybody there in the face. When I go to certain grocery stores and I see the lines, I don't just pick one. I don't pick it based on which one is closest to me. I pick it based on which one I think is going to move the fastest. I am strategizing in my mind. I am evaluating the person doing the scanning. I am evaluating the people in front of me. I'm trying to decide if that's a coupon mom or if that's a regular person. I'm trying to figure out if that person has 3 things in the cart or if that person has 332 things in the cart in the 10 checkout line only, the 10 items or less line. And that person needs to be banned from grocery stores forever in the name of Jesus. But I'm trying to figure out which line am I going to get in when I get in traffic. You ever been on 6 lanes of traffic and you're maneuvering all through? When I pick the wrong one, I feel bad about myself. I feel like a failure. I feel like the Lord must be trying to get me. Because here's the thing. Look, though, I want you to see this. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to life, real life, do not be deceived. That means don't be lied to because you have been. God is not mocked. That means you will not win this war. For whatever a man sows, that will he also reap. In other words, you lug what you load every single time. And what you do is you bring it into every single relationship you enter. You bring your bag. You bring it into your dating relationships. You bring it into your family relationships. You bring it into your marriage relationships. You bring it into your friendships. You bring it into your church. You bring it into everything. And some of you got one little carry-on bag, and some of you got 4 or 5 of them big old bags, and you're trying to figure out how to get them under the weight. Some of you got 1 and 2 and 3 of them luggage carts. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta check it in right when you get there on the curb. The little man comes and he puts it on a cart and walks it in for you because he obviously knows that you need help. That's what some of us are lugging around. But we only lug what we loaded. And the reality is, if we will understand that they're trying to help us, that Paul's trying to help us, that Jesus is trying to help us, what he's trying to help us understand is you can't sow death and reap life. You can't sow death and reap life. You can try to beat the system. You can try to do whatever it is you're trying to do, but God will not be mocked. In other words, you can get one past your parents. You can get one past your friends. You can get one past your spouse. You can get one past your boyfriend. You can get one past your girlfriend. You can get one past your boss. You can get one past, you fill in the blank, but you don't get one past God. He says, God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that will he also reap. Here's the thing, though. This is not even God punishing you for what you did. This is just the normal consequences that come from your own actions. Remember, don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. And if I were to do a little survey and ask everybody in the room to raise your hand, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not this time. Every single one of us know what it's like to hurt ourselves. I do. 90% of the pain I've experienced in life, I did to myself. And before you judge me, so did you. And if you don't think you did, it's coming. It's coming. Look to somebody and say, it's coming. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Because you can't sow death and reap life. But here's the third lie. Because right now, could you imagine if I ended this message and I was like, well, y'all go out there and try to have a good day. I mean, sucks for us. All right, see you next week. I mean, might as well go home and preach a message called How to Go to Hell and Enjoy It While It Lasts. The third one, you ready? The third one, say, I need some hope. Here it is. Here's the third lie. I've already messed up, so I might as well give up. I've already messed up, so I might as well give up. Listen, do you remember what Paul was writing to the church in Corinth? He says, stop doing this. You're going to hurt yourself. There's a better plan for you. There's hope for you. Here's what that means. Fast forward all these years, skip the scene all the way up till now. It's like Paul is saying to us and God is saying to us, if there's hope for the Corinthians, there's hope for you. If there's hope for Corinth, there's hope for Ackworth. If there's hope for Corinth, there's hope for Kennesaw. If there's hope for Corinth, there's hope for Freedom. There's hope for JR. There's hope for you. Together we can experience hope because we just got to stop believing the lie that says, I've already messed up, so I might as well give up. Because in a message like this, you'll feel caught, won't you? I mean, you don't have to raise your hand, but remember, I already told you this isn't a church where we have to pretend we can admit who we really are. Jesus is still working on us. We're going through a process. We're going through a journey. None of us have arrived yet, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff's true. But I just need you to know that sometimes in a message like this, you're like, man, I don't know about this message. I feel caught. Can I tell you the difference between how we view the word caught and how Jesus views the word caught? Because there's a significant difference. When you and I talk about being caught, or when we talk about catching somebody, I caught you, we think about pointing the finger. I caught you. I see what you did. I caught you red-handed. I saw what you did with that guy. I saw what you did with that girl. I heard what you said. I read the text messages. I saw the emails. I found out from somebody else that you had a Tinder profile and you were trying to hook up with other people. I saw it. I caught you. Point the finger. But when Jesus says, I caught you, he's not trying to point the finger. When Jesus says, I caught you, he wants to carry the weight. Jesus wants to take the weight away from you, so that you don't have to carry it any longer. Jesus says to you, this is what he said to me, a long time ago. He still says that every day, but he says, I am willing to make a trade with you right now. If you will trade me your sin, if you will bring me what it is that you've been lugging around, if you will bring me what it is that you loaded up, if you will bring me all the mistakes, if you will bring me all the broken promises, if you will bring me all the pain, all the shame, all the doubt, if you will bring me all of that and lay it down at my feet, I will pick it up. But not only will I pick it up, I will give you, in this very unfair trade, I will take your sin upon me and I will place on you the righteousness of God, which means that it's possible for you to walk into one of our rooms today and place your sin down at the feet of Jesus, and then to have Jesus place his goodness on top of you, so that when you walk out of this room, God doesn't see you according to who you used to be. He doesn't see you according to your behavior day by day. When God sees you, he sees you according to what Jesus did for you. And as a result of that, when he looks upon you, even in your worst moment, he will have a smile on his face. He will keep his head held high, meaning we can keep our head held high because we know that God not only loves us, but he also chooses to like us because we have been forgiven, we have been purchased, and I am now a son of the Most High God. You can be a daughter of the Most High God regardless of what your past looks like. That's what it is that Jesus is trying to make clear to every single person here. He's not putting the finger on your heart in order to point out what you did. He's putting the finger on you so that he can carry your weight. You've been carrying it around too long. See, some of us that are in this room right now, the reality is maybe the greatest need that you have is you need a relationship with Jesus. Maybe that's not something you've ever been a part of. Maybe you've never put your trust in him. Maybe you've never put your faith in him. Maybe you've never asked him to forgive you of your sin and to step into your life. You've never said to him, Lord, I want to be a full-time, real deal follower of Jesus. I want you to be the Lord and the Savior of my life. For me, that was April the 11th of 1996. As a 16-year-old kid, I said, Lord, the best way I know how, I turn my life over to you. And I need you to do for me what religion has never been able to. I need you to do for me what I've never been able to do on my own. And in that moment, he did not make all things perfect, but he did make all things new. And that's what he can do in your life right now. And that's the first invitation that I want to offer you today is if you don't for sure know that you have a relationship with God through the person of Jesus, I want you to come today in your mind and just say, I'm willing to drop what it is that I've been having to lug around, and I want him to change me from the inside out. With your heads bowed and eyes closed all over this room, if you're here today and you would say, you know what, that's me. I need to know that I have a relationship with God. I want to say yes to Jesus for the first time right here, right now. If that's you, would you just pray a prayer with me at both of our locations? Maybe even those of you that are watching online, would you just pray this prayer with me as I pray it out loud? Say, Lord, the best way I know how, I say yes to you. I turn from my sin and I turn to Jesus. God, I want to make a trade. I want to give you the thing that I've been lugging around. And I want you to give me the righteousness of God. Adopt me into your family. Make all things new. Today, the best way I know how, I want you to be the Lord and Savior of my life.